Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What Do You Mean You've Never Seen, a podcast that explores and analyzes prestigious and popular films that one of us has never seen before. I'm your host, Jonathan Colon, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Jennifer Branch.
Hello, everyone.
And Max Abelman.
Hello, everybody.
Joining us this week is our special guest host, Stacey Haggin.
Hello, everybody.
And everyone, Stacey is a friend of ours from way back. She and I have worked together a few years ago. Way back in 2014 is when we first met. She works in the cruise ship entertainment industry. She's a wonderful stage manager, and she also officiated Max and my wedding.
Oh, so cute.
So great to have you here with us this week, Stacey.
Excited to be here.
Thank you all for joining us as we discuss this week's film, Alien.
Ooh.
Our first horror movie.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Jennifer watched this film for the very first time for this episode.
I did. You're welcome.
So let's get right into it. Alien was released in 1979, directed by Ridley Scott, written by Dan O'Bannon, starring Tom Skerritt, Sigourney Weaver, Veronica Cartwright, Harry Dean Stanton, John Hurt, Ian Holm, and Yaphet Kotto. This is a very, very famous science fiction horror film from the late 1970s. It spawned an entire franchise. It spawned comic books, crossovers with other franchises, notably the Predator franchise, Alien vs. Predator. There's a bunch of movies that came after it. I think at this point we're at 6 sequels and then a couple of
sure you guys
other
have
related
heard
movies.
Of this movie, yeah.
So yeah, this was a big deal when it first came out. It was a big success. It was made for a budget of $11 million, and at the time in 1979, it made $106.3 million.
Wow.
So R-rated, has lots of gory deaths, and made a huge impact when it came out originally in 1979. Part of the whole sci-fi sweep that came in the late 70s. Star Wars, Star Trek the Motion Picture, this film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Space was really popular in the late 70s. This movie continued the trend. Yeah, let's talk about this movie. Brief plot description. There's a group of basically what you would call space truckers hauling this ore processing plant. It's a ship towing this big thing.
They're trying to get like fossil fuels, is what
I think so, yeah.
I don't think what they're towing is that important.
No.
It's very glossed over. I don't think I've ever known what they're actually towing.
Yeah.
They're
So
just like,
basically,
we're towing things.
Basically, it's a team of space truckers.
Yeah.
Towing this thing through space. They get woken up out of hypersleep because the ship has detected a alien signal they assume is an SOS. They land on the planet. The ship gets damaged. One of the guys gets this giant crab-looking thing stuck to his face.
So gross.
Because they find this egg in a derelict spaceship. He gets brought back on the ship. The thing emerges from inside him and grows to a very large size very quickly, terrorizes and kills almost the entire crew. Sigourney Weaver survives and then goes on to star in several of the sequels.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically what you need to know about the movie if you've never seen it. What I want to know now is, what did Jennifer know about the movie and its plot prior to viewing?
So nothing about the plot really surprised me. I feel like I pretty much had the gist. I knew in space no one can hear you scream. I knew that. I knew that the thing was going to pop out of the guy's chest. I knew there was an alien going to terrorize. I mean, there's really not much of a plot, right? It's basically like they find an alien, he terrorizes them, Sigourney Weaver escapes. Basically, that's it. I pretty much knew that going in. So nothing about that really shocked me. I wasn't like, ooh, twists and turns. You know, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, that was basically it. I feel like I had gotten the gist of it just from knowing what the sequels were about, knowing anything about the movie. Having gone on the Great Movie Ride was a big help.
Because you were with Sigourney
I
Weaver.
was with Sigourney Weaver on the Great Movie Ride. So I already knew what was going to happen because I had been on the Great Movie Ride with Sigourney Weaver. So, you know, I got it. I feel like this one wasn't a super shock in terms of story.
And you haven't seen any of the Alien movies, right?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah.
look forward to those in future episodes.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't really do a lot of horror movies, so that was the main reason I had skipped this one to begin with.
Yeah, and this one is very much a gothic horror film. The later ones sometimes are more action or sometimes more suspense.
Yeah.
But this one is definitely like a haunted house movie.
Right.
In space. I want to talk to my co-hosts who are rewatching the film. We'll start with you, Stacey, since you're our guest. What did you recall about having seen this before? Were your recollections accurate? Did you remember a lot about the film and the plot? What's your initial response to the viewing experience?
Actually, having watched this, I realized I've never seen this one before. I have seen Alien 2. Aliens, I should specify. So, same as Jennifer, I basically knew the plot. I knew from Spaceballs that the alien pops out of the guy's chest.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same actor, too.
It is,
Yeah.
which is how I knew. I was like, oh yeah, this is where the
Very
alien pops out of his
Spaceballs-ish.
chest.
Yes.
And then I wanted to sing along, and I did, actually. Let's be honest.
All right, how about you, Max?
We watched this movie together not too terribly long ago, maybe like a year ago or something. Yeah, I recalled it pretty perfectly. It's exactly how I remember it.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
found,
same.
as you repeat listeners will know, we are big proponents of doing the closed captioning when you watch these older films.
Yeah.
I read a lot of dialogue that was unintelligible.
Yeah, they mumble
so
a lot.
It filled in a lot of the blanks, particularly in the early section of the movie when they're just reading off a lot of stuff from the computers, and because the ship gets damaged when they land, discussing what the damage is and how long it's going to take to fix it. And, you get a little bit more character shading if you watch this with the closed captions, and you see Yaphet Kotto loves to say stuff to Sigourney Weaver under his breath.
I'm a big closed caption head. Everything with closed caption. I'm 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen this film maybe 5 or 6 times doing like a straight sit down all the way through. It's always been exciting, but when you're sitting and watching it with a critical eye, I don't think I've realized before how long it goes until we get to the alien's birth.
Oh, no, I remember that. This movie has always felt too long to me. I still like it, but it still feels too long to me.
We're going to move on to what was it like to watch. So we're going to talk to our guest host first. Give us your thoughts and impressions on the film. Was it an interesting watch, and what stood out about it?
Overall, I think it was interesting. I agree. The first half of the movie until the alien pops out, quite literally, I feel could be a little more condensed, but I think that was also a type of cinematic structure at the time, was much more of that slower building in that you don't get much anymore. But also, I think they were trying to show just how boring it is in space and that there is nothing to do.
In space, no one can hear you're bored. They needed to expose that for a worldwide audience.
Yeah.
I did like seeing a little bit of the birth of the product placement with the Converse being put up on the table as they relax every so often. But I feel like I could take or leave this movie, but I'm also not a huge horror fan either.
All right, how about you, Max?
I still enjoy watching this movie. I feel like there could be a good bit of it chopped off of it, though. Some of the stuff in the lead up, I don't mind the lead up before the alien comes out, but a lot of the actual suspense sequences for me go on for way too long, at the point where the alien jumps out and kills someone, which always lasts for maybe a second. It had gone on for so long that it's not even surprising. We already know these people are about to die because we've been watching them terrifyingly move through a cavern for a solid 7 minutes. Yeah, it kind of drags for me in those scenes. And for me, I enjoy horror movies. It's hard for me to call this a horror movie. It's not a movie that I would think of when I want to watch a horror movie. It's if I want to watch a suspense or a psychological thriller, I would think of it, but not for horror.
How about you, Jennifer?
I purposely watched this movie in the middle of the day while I was maybe doing laundry because I didn't want to watch it at night. I was like, if it's even a little bit scary, I'm not going to like it. So I'm going to try and have the lights on, have my dog in the room with me, make sure that I'm not too scared. But I really wasn't too scared, and I scared pretty easily. But I think also knowing going in, the main scary part I already knew was coming because I've seen Spaceballs just like Stacey.
Yeah.
And also, that's the part that everybody talks about. I think maybe if I had not known that, maybe it would have been more scary to me, but I kind of already knew that was coming. So it wasn't too bad. I really wasn't too scared. So that actually kind of surprised me because I've heard this movie's so scary. And for me, a chicken that thinks movies that aren't even horror movies are scary, I didn't find it overly scary.
Yeah, a movie with a monster sometimes is less frightening than a movie
where
where the
killer.
killer is like a human person.
I agree.
I think even in this film, one of the characters, Ash, the science
the robot.
officer.
Yeah.
Ian Holm is his name. Turns out to be a robot, and he sort of malfunctions and goes berserk and tries to kill Sigourney Weaver. I find that more scary than most of the actual alien killings in the movie. movie.
Yeah.
Because as much as I've watched this movie over and over again and paid close attention when I'm watching it, I don't ever get like a sense of where everyone is in relation to everyone else on the ship. I don't really understand how big the ship is.
Yeah.
You don't get the human scale next to it very much. Oh, and another note, when it lands on the planet, it's got like white Christmas lights on the bottom, which I find very distracting.
The sets in this are very well done and very specifically designed and detailed. I don't think they actually work for me that much, and I say that very tentatively because I know these are like some of the most famous set pieces of all time. This is where a lot of other sci-fi spaceship stuff like Halo got a lot of design work out of this movie, but I don't think the sets really worked for me. I felt like the different rooms didn't match an overall, this is one place at one time sort of a deal. Like, you can have differentiation from like the boiler room to the dining hall or whatever, but it didn't feel like they were in the same place the entire time.
Yeah,
maybe that's why they never turned the lights on.
Yeah, it's why it's always dark. Yeah, I don't ever get a sense of placement. Like, the climax of the movie, Sigourney Weaver's character is running through all these hallways trying to get to the shuttle so she can escape because they've set the self-destruct on the ship. And she hears Yaphet Kotto and Veronica Cartwright get killed, but you have no idea how close she is to them, so I don't feel like, oh, she must be in danger because I don't know where she is in relation to where the alien is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then somehow the alien gets to be in her path, even though he was behind her when she started running down the hallway. It's just very confusing. It does kind of take me out of the movie because I start to like think about the logistics of where were Parker and Lambert when they got killed? Are they like right around the corner from where she is?
Yeah.
She eventually gets to where they were and sees their bodies, and that's how she can escape by herself with a clear conscience with the cat. She of course saves the cat, and that is why she survives this movie, is because she cares about the cat.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then the fact that there's the air ducts too, that throws me off too, because it's like, okay, well, you got this whole ship that kind of looks already like air ducts, and then actual air ducts that are above the weird tunnels, and it's just like tunnels on tunnels on tunnels.
So yeah, that part always trips me up a little bit and kind of takes me out of the viewing experience. But all in all, I think it's very well acted. The characters are all very interesting.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Yaphet Kotto's character. I think he's just enjoys being a pain in everybody's ass.
That's Parker, was his
Parker,
name?
yeah.
Parker. Oh, he was my favorite because he was all concerned about like, well, how are we getting paid?
Where am I going to get that
me.
money?
Yeah.
That was me. I identified with
Where's
Parker
my money?
the most. I was
Absolutely.
like, I want to know, okay, so we're spending extra time. Where's my overtime? Where's my bonus check?
Yeah, exactly.
That was me. I identified with him. He was my boy the whole movie.
Yeah. And
Absolutely,
then of course,
me on a job.
he has Brett, who is his like, yeah, exactly what he said.
Yeah.
So
He's
I
like,
always
give me
enjoy
that money.
Does anyone have any specific thoughts about the length, the pace, the action, or the special effects? Do you think the special effects hold up?
Not so
No.
much. No. It's not so much the special effects, but it's just the technology, right? Like the computer, and she's talking to the mother, and it's just so hard when you're supposed to be in this very, very futuristic, I guess, probably 1,000 years into the future. I don't even know what year it takes place, but very far into the future. And yet they have this weird DOS system. And it's just like, that totally takes me out of it, you know, because it's just outdated technology, but they're trying to pretend it's super futuristic.
Right.
Yeah.
So that kind of just threw me off.
Yeah.
It's just so hard. And I'm sure at the time, back in the 70s, it made a lot more sense.
It was
but
state of the art,
now,
I'm sure.
not so much, you know.
I do think the effects are like holding on for dear life. It's always good until, you see the actual full shot of the alien and you're like, oh, that's fake as hell.
Right.
With the technology too, I don't know. There's something about having just a room full of flashing buttons where I just look at them and I'm like, there's no way these people use all those buttons. Why do they have all these buttons?
Right.
Why don't they
so
just
many
have
buttons.
why don't they just have like a keyboard or something? But they don't. They just have a billion buttons and switches surrounding them at all times with no labeling. And you see it in their characters. You don't see them feel a lot of connection to the technology that they're using.
Anyone have any thoughts about any of the characters other than the ones we've mentioned? What do you think of Captain Dallas, Jennifer?
Well, here's the thing. When Kane has the thing on his face and they're like examining him or whatever, no one is reacting at an appropriate level. Like everyone is so chill about it, just like, oh, sucks to be that guy, I guess. and then it's like nobody's reacting, including Dallas. Oh my gosh, just the amount of like no precautions taken. Like they know this is like some alien creature. They don't know what it's capable of. They don't know what diseases it's carrying. They don't know anything. And they're like, have no weapons, have no sort of armor for themselves, nothing.
Yeah.
They're just so unfazed by any of it.
They all stick their bare faces right near that dead
so
alien
close.
thing.
And they're like, let me just have this volleyball net. That'll protect us. No, that's not going to protect you.
Going around chasing it with a net.
From something that bleeds acid.
And then when the thing disappears or whatever, it's the next day, right? And Kane wakes up and he doesn't have the thing on his face anymore. No one's like, maybe we should examine his internal organs. Maybe we should make sure he doesn't have some weird disease. Maybe we should quarantine him. Like, no, he can just come have breakfast with us. That's fine. This alien's disappeared. We're not going to worry about it. It's probably okay. Yeah. No, that's not okay. So the amount of lack of any sort of concern or any sort of maybe we should take a step back and maybe just be overly cautious in this situation, considering we don't know what this thing is or what it's capable. No, they're like, it's fine. Just this one little plastic mask to some oxygen. We're good.
Yeah, I think this is particularly disturbing in the post-COVID-19 world.
100%.
So this whole thing must have taken place in a different universe where COVID-19 was not a thing, because they do not care about protocols. They don't care about quarantine. And what I really find interesting about this movie is that if only the men had listened to the women, none of this would have happened and they all would have just been fine.
I mean, isn't that every movie ever, right, Stacey?
It is, although I don't know if we should listen to Lambert.
But she was right. She was right.
Well, they were making it sound like she was totally hysterical. And I was like, if anything, she's underreacting, right? She's maybe overreacting compared to the rest of them, but the rest of them are too chill about the situation.
My theory is that over the course of the movie, Lambert just has a complete nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
And so that by the end, she's frozen and can't move, even though Parker jumps in and engages the alien so that she can escape, but she's just frozen with fear and can't do it. But in the beginning, she makes a lot of sense. She's the only one that's this...
Well, and Parker
They get into
Parker's like, let's freeze it. Let's do something.
Right. Yeah. But they get into the derelict ship and they see that the pilot is a fossilized corpse. Clearly, there's nothing living on this thing. It's clearly not a real SOS. And
let's turn
simultaneously, Ripley is the only one who has thought, why don't we run this message through the translator and see if we can find out what it is?
Why didn't nobody do that in the first place?
Well, we know why Ash didn't do it, because Ash is trying to help the alien get onto the ship.
Right.
But why no one else considered it is bizarre.
Yeah,
Ripley is middle management. She's third in command.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the only one that's thinking like an actual leader this whole time.
First off, why did first and second in command both get off and go on the rescue mission?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that a thing?
They were like, okay, well, we trust you to take over in case we get killed, but we're not going to follow the procedures and listen to you once we come back to the ship with a guy with an alien stuck to his face.
Yeah.
I tell you, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't just ignore this alien on this man's face. He'll be okay.
Yeah.
What?
This is why I really think Ripley deserves to survive this movie, because she cares about the cat. She cares about the quarantine. She's not unsympathetic to the plight of her fellow people, even though most of them treat her like shit.
Right.
They're very disrespectful to her. No one listens to her. She's the canary in the coal mine. Lambert does her thing on the away mission, but on the ship, Ripley is the sole voice of reason, who is like, okay, we have to be organized. We have to take care of this thing, and we have to be realistic about our chances, and we have to be careful. And no one else is careful. Even Parker and Lambert, when they go to get the coolant that they need for the shuttle, for the three of them to be on it together, they are making so much noise.
Yeah.
It's like ringing the dinner bell for the alien.
Tell me about it.
And here's Ripley tiptoeing around. Even when she's calling for the cat, she's whispering, Jones, being so quiet. And they're throwing this metal crap around like it's nothing. And it's like clang, clang, clang.
These people are so dumb. I'm just like, he'll deserve to get killed. It's sad, but Although I do feel bad for Parker because he just wanted to get paid. I mean, I can relate. He's just like, I just want my money.
Yeah, and he really does turn out to be quite heroic in the end.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why he's the second last to get killed or the last to get killed. Or whatever,
Technically, isn't Lambert the last to get killed?
Yes, Parker's the second last. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But he doesn't try to take over, but he becomes the muscle for
Yeah.
the team towards the end. And I love when Sigourney Weaver finally is just like, well, you shut up and listen to me.
Oh, God.
You could tell she's been wanting to tell him to shut up for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And she's finally she's had the worst day of work ever, and she's just done. Like, she has no more F's to give, if you'll pardon the expression. I love that scene because she does put him in his place, and to his credit, he falls in line and agrees, okay, as long as we kill this thing, I'll go along with whatever you want to do. Any other thoughts about the watching experience of the movie?
Yes, this ship is very dirty. Everybody on it is very dirty. They have no concerns about smoking during all this, like, what I have to assume is very delicate, expensive
Explosive equipment.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's got to be some sort of oxygen flowing through this thing, and they're like, it's all right. We'll just smoke 45 cigarettes around it. No chance it's going to, like, blow up in our face, right? I really thought about Star Trek when I was watching this, and Star Trek is clean, crisp, perfect lines everywhere. Everything looks beautiful and organized and militaristic, and this ship is just this ragtag junkyard with all these dirty people on it, and I found it gross.
Yeah, this movie has everything. It has industrial steampunk plumbing into, dirty lower middle class kitchen to karaoke lounge as a captain's computer room. Just a room for the captain to sit in a rotating chair with his computer and like thousands of disco lights.
Right, and all the food looks like dry cereal.
Yeah.
Oh, so gross. Well, and they're eating all this disgusting food. It's like, what did they bring on this ship with them, right?
Yeah.
10 million cartons of cigarettes and then coffee and then just dried oat bran.
Also, is the robot
Gross.
drinking milk?
Yes.
Why is the robot drinking milk?
So he can
made of
explode
milk.
milk at the end.
Yeah, I think he's
Or,
like milk blood or something.
I don't know if I really clocked that the other times I've watched this movie, but I've always thought that the blood that was coming out of him, that's like hydraulic fluid or some sort of robot fluid, but is it just milk?
It's
Does
milk.
he run on milk? Is he a milk-powered robot?
I think
Max,
so. He's like
milk does a body good, okay?
It's the vitamin D. Everybody
Milk does
knows
a robot good.
Yeah. Everybody knows that robots need milk to survive.
Yeah,
Yes.
you remember all those milk mustache ads from like the 90s? He started that
No.
trend. He was very milk mustache.
Yeah, that's where Got Milk came from. It's because they needed it for the robots.
Got milk
For
and
robots.
alien specimens.
I just want to know why there was an entire section of the ship where it was raining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was that like skylight when what's his face
With
is
chains
like,
hanging down for some
with
reason.
chains hanging down, where
When,
Brett went to
yeah,
find
when Brett was
Jones,
going to look for the
and
cat.
where he dies.
This was
What is this
was
shit?
one of the suspense scenes that I thought could have been cut to shreds. Like, make this 2 seconds. He goes off to find the cat. There's an alien. He
Oh,
dies.
yeah.
Because we know the second that the movie starts following him instead of anybody else that we're
Well,
about
yeah.
to see him die.
Because he's separated from the group.
Yeah,
Anytime you're
we're-
off by yourself, you're
Like,
going to die.
Everybody knows we're about to see him die. Why is that scene 10, 12 minutes long, maybe? And
It
he
feels
stops,
long.
and part of that is he stops at this skylight. There's a skylight.
And he's
In
drinking
space.
the
In
random
space,
rain.
there's like
was it
rain
raining? That
dripping
is
down, and he looks up and he stares into the sun. Is the sun there? When is the sun there?
What is it? Yeah, in space, nobody can hear it raining, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. What was that?
I have a lot of concerns about Jones because I see no litter box. I see no cat
Why is there a
food.
cat there?
Why
is
he
there
Why is there
there?
even a cat there?
I don't feel like Jones had a choice to go into space. Whose cat is he?
Is Jones a working cat, or like does he have a
Does he
job?
serve a function on the
Emotional
ore
support
that they're
cat.
transporting?
I do appreciate that they only gave him a last name because they all only go by their last names. So,
Yeah,
you
that
know,
was
he
kind
was
of
part
fun.
of the crew.
He's part of the crew.
He's Jones. He's not Fluffy or Garfield. He's Jones.
Jones.
He's the last name. So
Yes,
I thought
he
that
is.
was
Jones.
I
Jones
like
is the
that.
security
Yeah,
officer.
and correct me if I'm wrong. I really tried to pay attention this time, but if it happened, I didn't catch it. Do you ever see Jones except for when they're needing to use him as a
No.
fake out for the alien?
I mean,
No.
in
When
the
do you
very
s-
beginning.
where do
he
you see
is
him in the
there.
beginning? 'Cause I
He's
missed
just
that.
kind of hanging out. You do see him. He's just
Yeah.
like wandering off. I think I did get a sense that he was just the pet cat of the mission before anything bad starts to happen. So he
Yeah.
was there, you know,
Yeah.
he was around. But yeah,
I always
have
miss
a lot of thoughts
whatever his
about
establishing
Jones.
shot.
I felt for Jones. I felt like if it wasn't for Jones, then Sigourney Weaver wouldn't have survived because
Probably.
the only reason she lived when Parker and what's the other lady?
Lambert.
died was because she was looking for Jones.
That's true. She was up on the bridge. I think that's the bridge. Once again, there's plenty of times in this movie where I'm like, where are we?
Yeah.
Where on the
And
ship is
again,
this?
I mean, no litter box, no nothing.
It's another hallway with
wherever.
doors that go up and down.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of hallways in this
Yeah.
movie.
There is.
Well,
It's a very
small
hallway.
cast. I mean, there's only 7 people in the movie. That's it. No
Yeah.
other people. You don't see any other sets. It's very claustrophobic. It's very much just the whole movie takes place within these 2,000 square feet, I guess. You know?
Yeah, and like
Mhm.
most of it is plumbing too. Most of the ship is plumbing, but there's not a lot in terms of living quarters. You don't see where they sleep. You don't see where they
Well, they
shower.
also sleep in the one pod. You would think,
Yeah.
like, again, going back to Star Trek, they have living quarters because they're on the
Right.
ship
Yeah.
for months or years at a time. And these people are on this ship for months and years at a time, but they all just sleep in one pod.
Yeah, they
have
sleep
one
in their
kitchen,
hibernation.
And then other
pods,
than
I
that,
guess.
they're just going through hallways for the rest of the time.
Yeah, it's just the bridge, the kitchen,
And
the
plumbing.
the computer room with all the lights and some hallways.
Yeah, and some 3 levels of just plumbing stuff.
And for some reason, they have an actual paper magazine on board that Ash uses to try to suffocate. Instead of just putting his hand
what?
over her
Why
mouth.
was that?
Would that work?
I don't know. Was that a
That
thing
was
in the
so
70s?
weird.
And do they
I know.
also
Were people
like-
choking people with magazines back then?
And do
I
they
don't
also
know.
knock his head off with that magazine, or like they do?
I think it was a
something to
fire
injure-
extinguisher.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was wondering, what did they just knock his head off with?
That was so weird. Like, why wouldn't he just choke her? Why was he shoving a
Like,
magazine
why was it
down
a
her mouth? That was
magazine?
bizarre.
He could have just wrapped his hands around her throat. I don't know.
Right?
Or
Was
just,
he
like-
trying to make it look like she just suffocated on her own?
Well, you know, it's like classic thing where you're just snacking
Yeah.
on a magazine and you choke. I mean, that's how people die every day.
There wasn't
Yeah.
a lot of.
There was a real pandemic of, forgive the expression, of people choking on magazines
Yeah,
in
so that's, you know,
1979.
that's how he tried to make it look like an
I
accident.
hate it
you know,
when that happens.
I
all
know,
the time.
right?
Classic.
So many people have perished at the hands of Time magazine.
Have you or a loved one ever
Time
choked
magazine.
on a Time
You're
magazine?
responsible.
Yes, listeners, if any of you know anyone, relatives or friends or enemies, I guess, who have been choked to death by a magazine, please write us at
Yeah, please come to our
What do you
website
mean you've never seen at gmail.com?
houseboattruth.com for compensation.
Yes.
That Time
If-
magazine, you have blood
Bonus
on
points
your
if you know
hands.
someone who was choked to death by a magazine on a houseboat.
Ooh. Was the ship a houseboat? Because it's a ship.
It's like a space
and they
houseboat?
live on
It's a space
there.
houseboat.
Okay.
If you want to know more about houseboats, listen to our Sleepless in Seattle episode.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Now I'm going to ask our guest host, does this movie live up to the hype? Does it deserve its cultural or prestige status?
I think overall, yes, because it does have that great suspense movie, very well acted. And if only just because it gave Sigourney Weaver her skyrocket to stardom. She is fantastic. She and Tom Skerritt can do no wrong in my book. Anything
Oh my God.
that-
They should be in another movie together.
They should.
They're
Oh my
the
God.
best.
And then Sigourney Weaver later on starred in Galaxy Quest. Probably was cast in that based on the fact that she was famous for this franchise series. So we wouldn't have her performance in Galaxy Quest without this movie.
I love Galaxy Quest. That movie's so good.
All right. Anyone else have any thoughts about whether or not this movie deserves its place in the pantheon of prestige films?
Sure. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's, for me, it's not that rewatchable, but it's very good. It's fun to watch. You have to get through it to really get to those final scenes where it's just Sigourney Weaver just going nuts and getting out of there. Like, that's really like what the build up to this movie is, and it's great for that. But I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a worthwhile payoff for how long you have to, like, the journey you have to go through to get there. It's still like fun to see. The characters are really good characters. It's really interesting to see that, but the pacing is just off for me.
What do you think, Jennifer?
I mean, I'm going to say yes, only because of when it was made. I feel like this was top of the line. If this movie came out today, I would be like, no, not at all. But because it was made in the 70s, I can see why, you know, at the time it was really exciting and futuristic and suspenseful. And I mean, but like I said, I mean, the problem I had going in with it, it's not like I went in totally dark to this movie, even though I hadn't seen it. So if I had not had knowledge of what I knew was going going to happen already, maybe I would have felt more suspense, but I really didn't. So, I mean, I think it does deserve the accolades. Like Stacey said, I love Sigourney Weaver in it. I think Tom Skerritt was really great. So, yeah, I get it. And obviously it spawned other movies, which I've heard as far as the franchise, maybe this is not the best one. This is maybe like the worst one, but obviously something has to start it off, right? So I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say it is not the worst one in terms of quality, but it is by far the slowest burn of any of the Alien movies.
Okay.
I think it really serves a purpose for setting up this franchise, which at the time was not planned to be a franchise. This was considered it was going to be a one-off movie.
Sure.
And what I think about it is that the concept and the artwork, the design are all wholly original.
Yeah, that's true.
This movie is not derivative of anything else. It was groundbreaking at the time.
Right.
All of the tropes that it's spawned imitators and parody and stuff over the years. The idea of the face hugger and how the alien gets implanted and how it gets onto the ship. Those were all like totally original ideas. So I got to give this movie major props for that.
Oh, yeah.
Because this was not normal. This was taking the science fiction genre in a completely different direction than the other movies that were popular during the time. You know, they were space opera in the case of Star Wars, or alien invasion or alien exploration like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This one truly took a haunted house concept, but flipped it on its ear, put it in space, but it wasn't like, oh, well, this is just The Haunting, but it's in space.
Right.
It's a very unique concept. Unfortunately, it has kind of been run into the ground over the years, and we're going to eventually we're going to do Aliens for sure, because Aliens is a really exciting action movie. It's a very different type of movie from this. I like the direction that they go with it in the future. The other ones after that, it's pretty much diminishing returns. But
I don't know if the other ones even really qualify for the parameters of this show. They're not popular enough.
Point.
Right. Yeah. Aliens definitely is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we are definitely going to do Aliens. If our listeners really want to hear us do every single Alien movie, which I guess is 6 or 7 movies
I have
altogether.
no idea.
It's a lot of movies.
And I mean, I haven't seen the last 2.
I have no idea. Like, I know I've seen the first 3, and then after that, I'm not sure which Predators I've watched and haven't watched, or I have no idea.
Well, when I've told my friends that we were doing this movie for the podcast, pretty much everyone had the same thought, was like, oh, well, you got to do the second one. The second one's so much better. The second one's the best one. But I think once we do the second one, maybe we'll be good after that.
Yeah. Maybe in year 12 of this podcast, we'll finally get to Alien 3.
Really run out of ideas.
when we're running on fumes. All right, let's move on to the What Do You Mean You've Never Seen Awards.
Ooh.
The best part.
Yeah.
All right. And now we ask this question of every guest host we have. We ask it of each other every week, but we always give this question to the guest host when we have a guest host.
It's the best question.
Is Alien better than The Muppet Movie?
Absolutely not.
I thought you were going to say absolutely.
Absolutely.
And tell us why, Stacey, it is not better than The Muppet Movie.
Because the alien does not sing when he pops out of the guy's chest. The Muppet Movie has singing and dancing, and that's important to me.
I would love to see a Muppet parody of this movie. I think that would be great.
I think that would be excellent. I'm surprised they have not done that
We
yet.
should do that.
The Muppets in space, but it's Alien. Wow.
I mean, they had Muppets from space, because that's how we find out where Gonzo's from.
Oh, that
He's from
so
space.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that one?
Spoiler
That
alert.
one's so good.
I've never seen it, actually.
Put
Put that one on the list.
All right. Jennifer, talk to me about eyebrows in this movie.
Yes.
So I did text you about this when I was watching it, but I didn't have a whole lot of thoughts about eyebrows specifically, but I have lots of thoughts about grooming in general.
Okay.
Because everyone in this movie looks like garbage. They all the men look like they need a haircut. The women, they're just worn down. And this sounds like I'm criticizing the movie, but it's actually a compliment. And here's why. Because if I was in space for a year and a half or however long these people are up there, I wouldn't give a crap either. So props to this movie for their realism in showing that these people don't really give a crap about what they look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
They
are my
also
thoughts.
were just released from hypersleep, which encouragement that they were asleep, but their
Can you
hair was
explain
still
to me the
growing.
hypersleep? Were they
And
supposed to be in hypersleep like till they got back to Earth? Like
Yes.
how
Yes.
long were they in Were they supposed to be in hypersleep for?
They don't tell you how long the trip was originally supposed to be, only that they've gone off course and that they are now 10 months away from Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So the
so
idea
long.
is you go,
These poor
you do
people.
your pickup, and then you put the ship on autopilot, you get into the hyper chamber, and then you just stay asleep until right before you get back to
Was
Earth.
Jones in hypersleep?
I would presume so. I mean,
I
he would have
hope
to be,
so.
because
Poor
otherwise
Jones.
he
Oh,
would
I feel
starve
bad
to
for
death.
this
Yeah. And I mean, she
And
puts him
think
in
of the
hypersleep
poop
at the
cat
end.
poop.
so-
It would be
That's
everywhere.
what I'm saying. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
litter box. This poor cat
This poor
is just
cat.
struggling.
Well,
I mean,
He
Maybe he
sleeps
goes and
like,
hangs out in the
yeah.
skylight.
I mean, it's a cat that sleeps like 6 years every 10 years or something. I don't know.
well,
Hard to
just
tell.
going
He's a
over
space
my
cat.
notes, you know how Stacey was talking about the room in the rain, and I have in my notes. I don't remember if they said this in the movie, but I had it in my notes that it could be battery acid or the aliens pee.
But he's
Did they
drinking
say that in
it.
the movie? I had it
He
in my notes.
literally opens his teeth and goes, ah.
And that's why I wrote
So he
that. I
knew it was
like,
going to
"Oh,
be there.
Don't drink that, please.
All right, so that's our eyebrow talk for today.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it's mostly about grooming. I mean, Dallas especially, like, he's got this crazy beard. I'm just like, you look like crap. But it's understandable, so I'm actually fine with it.
Because that's what it would really be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Max,
Yes.
name something you like better than this movie and name something that you like less.
I like my beautiful husband, who I have been married to by our special guest Stacey for several months now, since February. I enjoy you far better than any movie, my love. Aw.
Everybody collectively.
Aww. And something that I enjoyed less than this movie, I enjoy, any Star Wars movie less than this movie. I think. I don't know. I've never stayed awake.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 4 New Hope coming your way in the next couple of months, guys.
Can't wait for that.
I
Yeah.
can wait.
All right, we're going to ask everybody for their opinion on this one. This is one of our favorites. Stacey, you're going to go first. Who won this movie and who lost this movie?
I think that Kane lost the movie because he was the idiot who went and said, oh, let me go through this weird mist to poke at the eggs.
Mhm. He was a thrill seeker.
Yeah, that
he
was
got a thrill, didn't he?
right?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I have to say, I think Jones wins for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not Jones' fault that he's stuck there, and he still manages to avoid the alien.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's basically never in danger the whole time.
Avoid
And-
the alien,
and
stays
he-
alive.
And he warns
No
them when the
stress.
alien is coming, so he's like an early warning
He does.
system.
Yeah.
He hisses when he sees the alien.
They should have been
Yeah.
carrying him around and not the little tracker that the robot made.
Which
Yeah.
I think he made it not work on purpose.
I agree.
Because he was
Probably.
he wasn't
Right.
trying to
Well,
get
that's
them
what I was saying. I'm like, they're carrying this dumb tracker instead of like, I don't know, any kind of weapon, like to
Yeah.
maybe ward off. They're like, we're going to carry a tracker and a volleyball net. We got this, you guys.
Well,
Like,
they had
no.
they
And
did have the cattle
flamethrower.
prod. They didn't have the
Oh, yeah,
flamethrowers
that's
yet.
right.
That
That's right.
wasn't until after Brett got
Oh
killed.
my God.
I
But they-
forgot that the flamethrowers weren't really used in this movie.
No.
Like,
Hardly at all.
They were more to just light the actors' faces.
yeah. But like
They were
they never
practical.
actually use it against the alien. So like I forgot at this point that we don't really know like how to fight this alien at the end of this movie, other than like maybe send it out into
But they
Well,
don't really
send
try
it.
that many methods.
No,
like,
they
just
don't.
shoot it. Just
Like,
like,
well,
do anything.
yeah.
But you can't shoot it because then it's going to bleed and then the acid will melt through the ship.
Well, I
That's
guess
why
so.
they call it the perfect organism, because the only way to kill it really is to, if you're on a spaceship, is to get it out the airlock. Which is why almost every movie, spoiler alert, every one of these movies ends with the alien getting put out the
Well, and
airlock.
that's what I
Yeah.
didn't understand. Why did she have to blow up the ship? Like, once she was off the ship, like, what does she care at that point?
She didn't want anybody else to come across the alien.
But there was nobody else on the ship.
Like
Did she think the alien's going to steer the ship?
no,
Maybe.
but like someone might find the ship and
try to go on it.
try to go on.
Well,
it.
I mean, it was all for nothing anyway, because the alien wasn't even on the ship. So.
Yeah, all that
Also-
evidence.
Also, why are they littering their friend's body into space?
Because it's burial at sea, except it's space.
Yeah.
Burial at space.
Burial
They do
in
the same
space.
thing. Well, we can't talk about that. That would be a spoiler for Star Wars. Never mind. Ignore that.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I do know the plot of Star Wars movies. Like, I get it.
So Jennifer,
Yes.
who's the winner of this movie and who's the loser?
I was going to agree and say that Jones wins the movie because, like I said, if Sigourney Weaver hadn't gone looking for Jones, she would have been in the same situation with the other two when they got killed. But she was looking for Jones, and Jones, he's just doing his best. He's like, I'm just a cat. I don't want to be here. Nobody asked if I wanted to go into space. I probably got car sick getting shot up into space because, animals aren't trained for this kind of thing. When they shoot animals up in space, they all get sick.
Yeah.
And I relate to that. So Jones...
Because you've been in space?
No, because they get seasick. I get motion sick. I don't want to go to space. But animals don't either. And they have no training, like astronauts have training to deal with that kind of thing. You can't train an animal for that. So poor Jones. I feel for him. I'm glad he survived. I was very worried. Oh, the loser of this movie. I hate to say it because I love Tom Skerritt and I loved him in this and I love him in everything he does. He's brilliant. But Dallas loses the movie because he's just making bad decisions.
Yeah.
And he's listening to Ash, even though Ash is spouting nonsense and just like, oh, no, we can't touch this thing. We have to let it live. And it's like, do literally anything. They're just not reacting enough when this guy has this claw on his face. They're just like, it'll be okay. We'll be all right.
And once again, Ripley warns him that he should not be listening to Ash and brings up, how do you know? We don't even know this guy. You've had the same science officer for 5 previous missions and then they just throw this guy on at the last minute. Right. Doesn't that seem a little sketchy to you?
Right.
And Dallas is just like,
and nothing he says makes sense. Nothing sounds like a real, I don't know if he's supposed to be like a doctor, but nothing he says sounds like what a doctor would say. Like I said, nobody's concerned about the alien disappeared. Maybe we should check Kane's vitals before we just start having breakfast with him. No. Yeah. And so, I just feel like Dallas should have been a better leader. He should have listened to Ripley. He makes bad decisions this whole movie. So I'm sorry, Tom Skerritt. You won Steel Magnolias, but you lost this one.
And trivia for Tom Skerritt's character in this movie. In the extended cut of the film, which we did not watch, we watched the original release version of this movie. In the extended cut, when she's going through the ship with the cat box, she comes upon a corridor where the alien has been cocooning its victims or what's left of them. And she finds Dallas and he's still alive. And she has to burn him. She uses the flamethrower and burns him to death because
that's horrifying.
He's
I wish we had seen
that.
They should have left that in. That sounds. That sounds awful, but it sounds like that would have been a better movie.
And a good conclusion to the storyline between the two of them is that eventually she has to do a mercy killing because he didn't listen to her, and she's the one that has to do it.
Oh gosh, yeah, that is interesting.
Why'd they cut that?
I know. I don't know. Maybe they thought it was too gruesome because most of the deaths are not very gruesome. Everything is dark.
Yeah,
well, you don't actually see any of the deaths.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
You just see the alien, and then all of a sudden
there was parts where they were screaming,
hanging.
and you don't hear them. I did take note of that. Parker at one point is screaming, and you don't hear him because in space, no one can hear you
can't
scream.
hear him scream. What about you, Max? Who's the winner? Who's the loser?
I'd say still, yes, Jones is the winner. Very victorious, very stress-free, this cat. And I'm proud of that fancy boy, Jones.
He's cute.
He is a cute cat. And I think the loser of this film is Mother, because she is a bitch.
Ooh.
And she got what's coming to her.
They blew her up.
They
She
blew
was my runner-up
her
for loser.
up.
All right, I'm going to move away from the group on this one, and I'm going to say that Ripley is the winner of this movie.
Because
Ripley is always right. She doesn't have a bad suggestion once, even though she goes against the popular sentiment. She knows what's right, and she knows the protocols. She cares more about the safety of the rest of the crew than anyone else on that crew does.
Yeah.
And she kind of just gets to chill at the end of the movie. It's like all these people that didn't listen to her and ignored her and mansplained to her, they all got what was coming to them. And she just gets to rest with her cat.
Yeah.
Counterpoint, she doesn't know what size underwear to buy. Because those do not
but that
fit
might have
her.
been issued to her by the company. You never know. The company controls a lot.
If it's run by men, then that's probably true.
Also,
But I always
wrong.
envision, when I think of Ripley, particularly in this movie, and you'll see in the second movie, it's kind of the same thing. She kind of has this trope of I'm the one telling everybody what they should be doing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, woman. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So that's Ripley's whole character for me. She's just,
I enjoy how quickly after everyone above her in status has died, how immediately she's just like, okay, time to blow up the ship. We need to blow up this ship right now.
yeah. When the
she
scene where
does
she
not
just,
hesitate.
after
She's just
the whole
like,
thing
time
with
to blow
Ash,
this up.
and she's like, yeah, she kind of gets this crazy look in her eye. She's like, yeah, we're going to blow up the ship.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
well,
take
I
our
think she was
chances.
so irritated with Mother, too, that she was, like, looking for any excuse to blow
Mother
up
up.
this ship.
And she
was
calls
like,
Mother a bitch
Mother
like 90
is the
times.
worst. She's
Yes.
like, I hate Mother. Mother doesn't listen to me. We're blowing
Yes.
this bitch up.
Yeah, I think the loser for me for this movie has got to be Lambert. You know, because she just, and it's not her fault. She's clearly not equipped to deal with this trauma, but she kind of is the architect of her own demise.
Yeah.
Even though she's one of the smart ones in the beginning, she
degrades pretty quickly.
Yeah, she goes downhill fast.
She starts very smart, and then by the end, she's like the woman from Airplane, the calm down, get a hold of yourself lady, where people just like, you just want to line up to shoot her.
Yeah, she's just a basket case. She has to be like physically moved around the set.
Yeah.
You know, like, and Parker has to take care of her, and that's why Parker dies. So I can't say that Parker is a loser, because Parker is, of the men in the movie, he is by far the most heroic. But yeah, Lambert loses.
Yeah.
It's too bad, because she did start out good. She started out smart, and she started out making sense, and then she just went bonkers.
Yeah.
And another piece of trivia, in an alternate scene, the part where they're all outside the medical bay watching while Dallas and Ash are trying to operate on Kane, it shows the other three sitting there, and then it cuts to the medical procedure, and then when it comes back, Ripley's entering saying what's wrong. In the original, an alternate cut of the movie, she comes in to ask what's happening, and Lambert attacks her.
Huh.
Because she's pissed that she wasn't going to let them back on the ship. She's like, "Ah!" And she's already at that point started to lose her mind.
Right.
Well,
and I mean,
and
but also you kind of can feel for Lambert too, because she's like, well, I'm not the one with this big crab on my face. Like, let me back on, you know? So
yeah,
I
and
get it.
she wanted to go back before they even got to the ship. Yeah. So yeah, you can see that's one of the few times that you could see both sides of that argument.
Right.
But yeah. Poor Lambert, she did lose the movie for me. Okay, let's move on to our next segment. We're going to rate this movie. And we're going to rate how many cat carriers. I was going to say gross, greasy alien eggs, but we can do cat carriers.
We'll make our own metric as we go.
Each one of you pick whatever thing from this movie you want to be. I'm going to give this movie 4 out of 5 flamethrowers. Because it is, again, the opening of it is very slow. It's almost like you're watching a documentary about people on a sea mission or something. But it's really great. The designs are really cool. The actors are fantastic. It's all A-list quality actors in it. Mm-hmm. Sigourney Weaver is awesome. Yeah, so 4 out of 5 flamethrowers for me. I'm going to throw it to you, Stacey.
I think I would go with 3 out of 5 cat carriers. Because while I agree with you, it still just moves really slowly for me, and I feel like I didn't get enough of the actual depth to wonder whether or not they were actually dead until you saw them.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jennifer?
I would also give it 3 out of 5 cigarettes that should not be smoked around delicate equipment. Because, like I said, I mean, I appreciate that it originated a lot of the tropes that we now think of as tropes. But the beginning is weird. It moves slow. Everybody makes bad decisions. There's just things that take me out of it. The weird light room that I mean, and I know this was the 70s, but that feels like something out of the 50s for me. That feels like Lost in Space, even pre-Lost in Space. That just looks so ridiculous and so ooh, future. No, I hated that. That really took me out of it. And just people making bad decisions. Obviously, Sigourney Weaver is great in it. Everybody's great. Good. I liked Parker a lot. I identified with his wanting to get paid for what he was doing, because I always want to get paid. And I like Tom Skerritt. So 3 out of 5. It was solid, and I am looking forward to seeing the next one, because I've heard the next one's better.
Yeah, I'd give this movie a solid 3.75 Sigourney Weaver butt cracks.
Wow.
Very good movie.
That is a metric right there.
Very good movie. Kind of hard to watch. Maybe only bring it into your life once every 5 years, I'd say. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, if you're ever in I need to get an Alien fix, maybe watch this one.
Yeah.
And Aliens back to back.
Yeah.
So you get more of a complete story.
Make a weekend out of it.
And if you choose to ignore the sequels, go right ahead. Alien and Aliens make a very nice little dovetail story.
That's a complete journey right there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It didn't need to go any further. So it's some kind of too bad that it did.
Fair enough.
So does anyone have any final thoughts or feelings about the movie they'd like to share? We're going to give Stacey an opportunity to say anything if she wants to.
I just didn't understand why Sigourney Weaver had to get naked at the end.
Ugh.
Or undressed, I should say. She didn't
Yeah.
go no full nudity. But that just seemed contrived to me. I know they were trying to say that she was getting ready to go in the hyperchamber, but it just didn't seem like it was necessary to have that happen so that way she could be naked while she was being attacked by an alien.
What about you, Jennifer?
Same thought. I was just showing Stacey in my notes, like my note says, of course you gotta get naked. So this is a trope that happens in horror movies, right? Where the women are sexualized for no reason that makes no sense. And I was really proud of this movie for not doing that until it did. And she gets naked and her underwear is way too small.
Yeah.
And it just makes no sense. It's ridiculous.
It's
and then
space underwear.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even talk about this, but she starts to sing this weird song to herself.
Yeah, was
You
that
are my
song-
lucky star.
Yeah.
It's the first line
that-
from the song and Singing in the Rain.
Okay, I didn't get
Oh,
that.
okay, I
I
don't
was
know.
like, was this like something that happened in the beginning of the movie that I missed? Because it felt like it was maybe a callback to something, but it did.
Maybe it was
came out of
cut
nowhere.
from, maybe it's in
Yeah.
the director's cut.
She's like singing to herself, and I'm like, is this like her favorite song? Does this song like pump her up? It was
Yeah.
very weird.
Honestly.
So that last scene, I felt like the last scene needs a rewrite.
Yeah,
Let's go
well,
and get in our time machines.
Yeah, a
and-
little
and
bit.
fix that.
Also with that underwear, I don't know like cuts of women's underwear. Like I don't know.
That's
it's not a part of, but
one,
it's
Max.
not. Yeah.
It
but
almost
like,
looked like they were on backwards.
yeah, like, but I don't know. It did not look right. It definitely did. Like, I know it's the wrong size, but it's not like what you would bring to space at all.
Or,
like,
right, yeah,
or
made
like
no
even
sense
to
for
work,
space.
right?
Yeah,
You
they
know,
were like
working that.
triangular.
Yeah.
It was like a pyramid, but panties. Pyramid panties. Get it trending.
They were
Hashtag pyramid panties, everyone.
they were huge in the late 70s, but they're tiny now.
Maybe. I don't know. And I know she's very tall, so like
She's very
obviously,
tall.
you know, maybe it's
Yeah.
harder, but that
And she doesn't have
was
much of an
really
ass
ridiculous.
either, so yeah, they were just
Mm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so final thoughts. You know, everybody makes bad decisions. Nobody was like,
No.
nobody put the appropriate amount of caution to what they were doing. I mean, they're
No.
just like, we just saw a thing come out of our friend's chest, but we'll be okay. We'll
Yeah.
just track it with this weird old-timey tracker. Okay. That's about it. It was, I don't want to say I was disappointed in it, but I was expecting a little more.
What about you, Max? Anything else you want to say?
No, we covered all my notes. Everything from milk to
Pyramid panties.
to pyramid panties to computer rooms that look like a karaoke bar, like one of those private room karaoke bars.
All right. And
Yeah.
I just want to say again that I enjoy the climax of this movie.
Yeah.
The beginning, of course, it kind of seems unfair to be like, oh, we wish the beginning was faster, because if it was, then most of those actors wouldn't have that much to do in the movie, because they all, once the alien shows up, they all die pretty quickly.
Right.
But I always enjoy watching this, and I think it's a good way to spend an afternoon. Maybe not watch it right before you go to bed.
Yeah.
But always Ripley forever. She's the best, and she's going to continue to be the best.
Absolutely.
And even in the bad ones, she's still the best thing in the movie.
It's true.
Do we get to see Jones again?
Yes, Jones is in Aliens.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Justice for Joe.
Justice for Jones.
Justice for Jones.
Now we're going to bid farewell to our guest host for this week.
Oh,
and
bye forever.
Bye.
Forever. But,
Thanks for
Stacey-
marrying us. Sorry you
Thanks
can't
for
come
marrying
back.
If there's anywhere, if you want our listeners to reach out to you, if you're on any social media that
Yeah.
if you have anything you want to plug,
Any
You know I
projects you want to
hate
plug?
social media.
Well, anything you want to plug that's just something
Yeah.
you like that maybe our listeners might like.
Can
Any
they
other
search for you
podcasts
on
they've
Alta
on?
Vista?
What is Alta Vista?
It's an old search engine.
can,
Anyway.
can we find you on Ask Jeeves?
Yeah.
Should they submit their resume to you for any future job prospects?
Yeah.
Are you on Indeed?
Yeah.
I am on Indeed, though I never check it.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
If people want you
course.
to marry them, can they contact you? No, not so much.
No.
They
Okay,
can
cut this
contact me
out.
through you, but they have to do it in Las Vegas.
Okay. So.
Fair.
If you want to get married by me or Elvis, come to Las Vegas.
Yes. So if any of
Deal.
you would like to have Stacey officiate your wedding, please email us at whatdoyoumeanyou've never seen @gmail.com.
And she does a great job, and she looked beautiful.
Aw, thanks.
Absolutely.
Yes, and maybe someday we'll post pictures or video of our wedding to the podcast website as bonus content.
Oh,
Ooh,
that'll be
that's for you
fun.
For our
Yeah.
patrons. We've got actively putting stuff up there, so keep checking us out. All right, now we're going to discuss our movie for next week. Drum roll, please. Our film for our next episode is The Breakfast Club.
Oh.
Do you like clubs? Do you like breakfast?
I love
No,
Do
I
you like
breakfast.
the? Well, in that case, this movie is probably for you.
Oh,
This is a film that I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that none of the three of us have ever seen before.
I mean, I have never seen it, so
good.
correct.
It was once on at the background of a party that I was at. I didn't really watch it.
Oh, was like a birthday clown situation?
No, what?
What?
No. What?
What does that mean?
What?
Are you revealing your secret past as a birthday clown?
Oh, he
No.
was. Max
No,
was
I
the
was-
birthday clown. Is
No.
that what you're saying?
Jonathan, I was invited to the party.
Well, birthday clowns get invited to parties.
No, they get hired to be at the party. They're not like invited. I was an invited guest at my friend's party, Jonathan.
If you want Max to
I had
come be a
friends.
birthday clown,
I was in high school.
You're a party in Vegas where Stacey buries you. Contact us at what do you mean you've never seen at gmail.com.
I had friends before I met you, Jonathan. Okay.
I believe it.
Oh, you're the first one who has.
All right. Yes. So The Breakfast Club.
Yay!
It is
Yeah.
a Brat Pack movie. It stars some of the Brat Pack.
Emilio
don't-
Estevez.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know what that is.
Max is so young.
I'm
you guys.
so young.
It was so Molly Ringwald's in it, Ali Sheedy, Emilio Estevez.
Emilio
Oh,
Estevez.
I always want to
who's the
say
other
Judd
one?
Hirsch, but I know that's wrong. Judd Nelson.
Judd Nelson.
Okay.
And then he's got three names. Nelson.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Anthony Michael Hall. There
I thought you were going to say Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela.
Don't you guys remember that
is
scene
in
that
this
Nelson
movie.
Mandela was in the Breakfast Club?
Yeah, we
No,
know
Anthony
they-
Michael Hall. I don't
Anthony
know
Michael Hall.
where I was going.
And
with Nelson.
we know that this movie is about detention, and there's music involved, and they do a little dance.
Okay.
And I know that Ali Sheedy has dandruff.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is a new one for me because we usually do movies that I've seen before. So I just know that it's about these kids that are in detention, and they come from different walks of life, although they're all white.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they're all privileged, but different
so
levels
here's
of
the
privilege.
thing. It's like the reason I haven't seen this movie or sat through it is because I feel like I already got the gist of it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's about these kids. They all get Saturday school, and one's a jock, and one's the princess, and one's I think they call her a basket case, which I feel like is a problematic term.
Probably.
And then she's like the goth chick, right? And then there's like the nerdy kid. But they all manage to like realize they're all teenagers and be friends. And it's like, who needs this?
Yeah.
I've not seen it because I felt like I've already seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's definitely for an older generation than us.
Mhm.
Facts.
It's
It's
very
very
much a
Gen
Gen
X.
X, yeah.
Very Gen
School
X.
just hasn't been like that for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, with John Hughes, I just don't know if it's my thing. You know, I've seen a couple of his movies, and obviously I know that Home Alone is a John Hughes movie, but I feel like that's a different style for him than this sort of thing, which he does a lot of, like, I think.
Yeah, and he
Pretty
didn't direct
Pink,
Home Alone. He just
16
wrote it.
Right. So I just like, I know a lot of people really love this movie, but I feel like it's going to be super tropey. I feel like
Yeah.
it's going to be very just obvious, I guess. So, you know, I mean, obviously we always go into these things with an open mind, but
Yes.
I feel like I kind of got it already.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Same. Yeah, that's basically what I remembered about this movie. Angsty kids forced to get along, do a little dance, fist pump, don't you forget about me.
I already forgot about that.
Happily ever after the end.
Right.
Yeah, that's about what I know. And I don't know. I
You know
don't
what-
anticipate it being too exciting.
You know what I'm really hoping? I'm hoping that at the end of this movie, it has a post-credit sequence where the Russians invade, and it turns out that this is the prequel to Red Dawn.
Wow,
Yeah.
that would be awesome. We need to watch Red Dawn.
Yeah, and then it just ends with just on the screen, Molly Ringwald will return.
She will return.
She will return.
She always returns.
In 16 Candles. Or I don't know. I don't know the order of these things.
Me neither.
They feel like they all came out within 5
Yeah,
months of
About
each
the
other.
same
Yeah.
year. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's it for our episode on Alien. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Again, you can reach us at whatdoyoumeanyou'veneverseen@gmail.com. You can check out our website. There's always going to be information at the end of these podcasts of where you can reach us and how.
Yeah, and
So-
check the description. There's plenty of information and links down there too.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So-
Jonathan, before we go, where can people find The Breakfast Club if they want to watch it?
Yes, you can find The Breakfast Club on Hulu. You can also rent it on Amazon Prime if you do not have Hulu. But if you don't have Hulu, what are you doing? Get Hulu. That's how I watch Family Guy.
Or don't. I don't know.
Even if
You
you,
can
get
live
like
without it.
if you get the one with the commercials, it's really not that bad, right? It's only a couple bucks a month.
Right.
Sure, or you can
I
get the
mean-
one without commercials, and it's even better.
Yes, that's where you can find that. Again, check the description of this episode and listen to our announcements so you'll know where to find us. And we hope that we get to engage with our fans and just tell us anything you want to tell us. You want to suggest movies for us to watch, if you want to comment, or if there's anything we missed about these movies that you think is important, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, tell us why we're wrong.
I mean, if you're gonna fact check things I say, you're gonna have a lot to work with. I know I get stuff wrong all the time, so don't think that you're that smart pointing out my mistakes.
I don't know.
But we're sure you're really smart. We're sure you're smarter than the guy that said inconceivable in The Princess Bride.
I don't know facts. I just know feelings. So.
Well, just remember, everybody, in space, no one can hear you scream, but, try to scream anyway. See what happens.
In space, no one can hear you sneeze, so no one will say God bless you if you sneeze.
Oh.
Isn't that just heartbreaking?
I feel like that's what happened to the alien when he was
fine.
outside.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, the alien looked so fake once she got outside the airlock.
Oh, the
I was
puppet.
like, why are we scared of this thing?
She was fake.
Yes. So, yes.
If I
in
was
space,
there, I would read that alien like, you fake as hell.
Yeah. So in space, no one can hear you scream, but we are not in space, so you can hear us scream. And we will be screaming for many, many episodes to come. So please check us out. We thank you for listening. We hope you have a great week, and we look forward to you listening to us next week, and we look forward to hearing from you. So I'll pass it off to my co-host to say goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. This episode of What Do You Mean You've Never Seen was edited by Jonathan Colon and Max Abelman. Our episodes and digital content are produced by Max Abelman. Your hosts are our writer, Jonathan Colon, producer, Max Abelman, and head of social media and community outreach, Jennifer Branch. All artwork for our show is created by James Alexander with Pleasant View Designs. Check the links in the description below for more information on how to follow the show and subscribe to our Patreon. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you at the movies.